A Fox News debate between Geraldo Rivera and radical right-wing former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino exploded last night into screaming and insults. And, in this segment, I don't actually care to talk about the substance of what Geraldo and Dan Bongino are talking about. What I want to talk about is how worthless this type of media is. And it actually relates to this show in a way as well, and something we've been doing or not doing, maybe better said. We're going to look at a segment on Fox News that is now down to the level of those sort of like internet blood sports type channels. If you haven't seen them, good, you're missing nothing. But the way that these internet blood sports channels work are they're live streams where you might have two people plus a host or like a panel of four. Sometimes it's 10 people just screaming at each other. Sometimes these things go 3, 4, 5 hours. No one learns anything. I'm often invited to participate in them, and I never do because I don't want to waste my time. Let's look at this segment. The general topic is the unrest in Minnesota surrounding the police shooting of 20-year-old Dante Wright. The police officer has been charged with second-degree manslaughter. We will be talking about the charge on today's bonus show. Of course, Dan Bongino in this segment is not being particularly sympathetic to the victim and their family, and it just completely explodes and devolves into screaming and insults. Take a look at this.
You tell that to the black families that see their sons being killed.
That's all you
twice
got.
the rate
you
of
got
white
nothing else,
sons.
buddy.
That's
got
a
nothing
fact.
else.
That's a fact.
You've got nothing else. All you want to do is see the country burn. You just want to see the country burn. That's it.
I want to see the country burn. You son of a bitch. I want to see the country burn. You punk. You're nothing but a punk.
Yeah.
You're a punk, Bongino. You're a punk.
You wouldn't tell me that to my face.
We'll leave it there. Coming up, the left continues.
Now, if your instinct is like mine, at least initially, you feel like, okay, it sort of seems like Geraldo is more on the right side here than Dan Bongino. I hear Geraldo talking about the relative rate of police shootings against black men versus white men. Okay, maybe like the broader, maybe in some sense, Geraldo is making more sense here. The broader analysis is that this is trash. This is garbage. You know those Russian nested dolls? They're called matryoshka dolls. You open one, and there's another slightly smaller doll inside, and then you open that one, and it, all the way down. That's what this is of nonsense. And what I mean by that is you start with the big picture, right? The biggest doll. Fox News is a propaganda network with a right-wing slant. They deliberately blur the lines between news and opinion, and they use that blurring to feed ignorant right-wingers exactly what they want, while running interference and carrying water for Republican politicians and administrations. That's Fox big picture. Okay, you open that up. You look at an individual show. The individual shows are just a disaster. You've got Gutfeld, the supposed comedy show. It's not funny. You have Jeanine Pirro on the weekends when she's not drunk. She's making no sense anyway. You've got Hannity, Tucker Carlson. They have completely bamboozled their audiences into thinking that they report news. When they get sued, their lawyers will quickly say, this is entertainment. This is entertainment. But the viewers don't realize that. You have Hannity, who's friends with Trump and repeats Trump's propaganda. And people watch it and they don't realize this is just Trump's friend feeding me nonsense. You have Tucker Carlson, who's doing subtle white nationalist talking points. We talked about that earlier this week. You open up the individual show box, and then you get to a specific episode about what's going on in Minneapolis, where the entire framing is always to defer and default to the position of police. You open that up and you get to this single segment with Geraldo and Dan Bongino. It's a debate, supposedly to give us two opinions. Maybe Geraldo's opinion is a better one than Bongino, but it's all sensationalist trash. It's just blood sports from which we learn nothing. And this is partially why I've done less and less of the debate the right stuff with bad faith people. All the time, we used to bring on just these morons, bad faith right-wingers, and I would argue with them, and it was interesting sort of like for shock value and entertainment value, and they did pretty well. But we didn't really learn anything, and no one learns anything from this. It's just garbage. It's not worth the electricity and the bandwidth required to produce it and to watch it. one more segment from this just to show you how completely vapid it is.
Statistics, but he doesn't know any of that. But secondly, this is again why being a reporter about police.
What, you have a 10-minute career as a cop?
Geraldo, you got it. Geraldo,
you've been running for office for the last 20 years.
Take a Valium.
So my hope is, and I've said this before, I hope that people watch some shows like mine. I'm not trying to put myself out of business, but my shows, if you think of a food pyramid where you put the junk food at the top, I hope that people are building their knowledge of the world and of important issues first by understanding how to think, epistemology, critical thinking, media literacy. On top of that, you build your knowledge of history and geopolitics and political philosophy by reading books. On top of that, you read reporting, ideally original reporting, and then you pick some commentary and opinion like my show at the top of the pyramid for flavor, right? If you're only watching Fox News, and many people are only watching Fox News, that's where they get everything. They get their worldview, they get their, everything comes from Fox News. If that's how you learn and you get informed, it's a disaster, and we will never solve the problems that we have in this country. So, I don't even care to adjudicate Geraldo versus Dan Bongino here. This is just like the logical endpoint of, as we, unpacked those Russian dolls. When you start with what Fox News is, and you go to what shows are on Fox News, and then you look at the hosts that Fox News selects, and then you go down to the segment level, you get a segment that is of, it's not even zero value. I would argue it's of negative value. If that's how you inform yourself about the issue in Minneapolis, you end up less informed and less able to really understand what's going on if this is what counts as news for you. Let me know what you think. Am I being too harsh? Find me on Twitter @DPakman. Don't forget that one of the best ways to support the David Pakman Show is by supporting our sponsors. And today, one of those sponsors is Sheath Underwear. Sheath Underwear makes boxer briefs specifically designed to prevent the sticking, the rubbing, the chafing that many of us know all too well with traditional boxer briefs. Sheath boxer briefs have multiple ergonomic compartments in the front to prevent skin-on-skin contact, keeping everything separate, cool, dry, and comfortable. Extra helpful now that the weather is warming up. No more sweatiness, no more chafing, no more readjusting. Sheath Underwear is giving the David Pakman Show audience 20% off when you go to sheathunderwear.com/Pakman. Use the promo code Pakman. Give Sheath Underwear a try. I've had a great experience with it. I think you will too. You can find the link right underneath this video, and don't forget to use promo code Pakman for 20% off.